Good morning and welcome back. It is a beautiful Monday morning. Look at the sunrise. I'm glad we got another day to enjoy. I'm not sure what the weather will be like. However, right now it's a cool 55 degrees outside. Guppy here. I have my breakfast burrito, and the only thing I brought for lunch are some frozen burritos. I think they're bean and beef, so that's what I'll have for lunch. I think I might have a couple at work, but I'm not 100% sure, but I brought two either way. And let's go see what is on the news today.
Before that price actually spikes up.
Oh, that's interesting. And I suppose that would be true of a lot of consumer purchases, right? Like if you're thinking about buying a new phone, for example, phone prices may go up.
That's exactly right. But if you were only in the market, you're like, oh, I kind of want a better camera, but you don't really need it. I would not do that. Because if you lose your job, that $1,000 could go towards your rent.
And now that's an interesting point. Should people be thinking about losing their jobs? The employment market still seems strong according to the latest figures.
It is still strong, but if there is a recession, and this could happen fairly quickly in terms of the downturn, you want to preserve as much cash as possible. So if you are in a good position, you've got money coming in and some sort of fixed income, and you've got a good savings, and you were going to buy something that you had already planned for, I would do that. But if you are already living paycheck to paycheck, your emergency fund is really low or non-existent, please cut back now. Don't wait for it to see the prices spike. Put that money away just in case you get hit by these tariffs.
Okay, so I'm thinking through your advice. Don't panic. Don't rush out and buy stuff. If you were already going to buy something, get it done. Save some money. Let's talk about something else here. People have retirement accounts. A lot of those accounts are invested in the stock market. They've been watching those numbers going down. What would you say for people to do there?
Stop watching the numbers. Don't look at your portfolio. I haven't looked at my retirement portfolio since Trump announced that he was going to do these tariffs and the market started to slide. I can't stomach looking at the actual numbers. I know that it's down, but I don't want to see the exact numbers because I'm not going to be touching that money for quite some time. And that's my advice for people. Just don't look. If you are in retirement, it's hard not to look if you're pulling it out, but I'm not going to say don't panic because this is your money. You've worked hard for it and you need to feel what you need to feel, but please don't act on those fears because even in retirement, you could have another 20 or 30 years before you need to touch all of that money. So pull out just what you need and let the rest sit.
I just want to remember the stock market crashed around the year 2000, came back. The stock market crashed in 2008, came back after a few years, so it does come back. But do you worry that something fundamental has changed in the world trading system here?
Yes, I do and don't. The basic economy for the U.S. is sound. It is the policies that are tipping us into this direction. And those policies could change on a dime, which they have. And so if there is some resolution to it, then the markets will bounce back. But until it does, I understand that it is a very, very scary ride.
Washington Post personal finance columnist Michelle Singletary, thanks for the insights.
Thank you.
And this is Morning Edition here on KJCC. We'll have the Marketplace Morning Report for you in about 10 minutes. Asian stock markets plummeted as the shockwaves from President Trump's tariffs continue to reverberate around the world. We'll also set the stage for the Wall Street opening and all the business news you need to know, especially today coming up at 5:52 in Marketplace.
KJZZ is supported by Beatitudes Campus for Senior Living, located in North Central Phoenix. dedicated to being a diverse and inclusive community of independent.
We started to see some slowing after we finished up the last report from the right at the split, actually, to the northbound I-17, right near 16th Street, and I am seeing some DPS troopers off to the right. Appears we have a crash there, and there is some slowing as you approach the split heading northbound on the I-17. Other than that, the early morning crashes and stalled vehicles, they've cleared away. They are good to go, but we still have slowing now from the southbound I-17 at Glendale Avenue down through the Stack. Eastbound I-10, very normal right now, about 14 minutes from the 101 into downtown Phoenix, and only one surface street crash this morning, 27th Avenue in Glendale. Traffic is brought to you by Asset Preservation Wealth and Tax. Join Stuart Willis for the Asset Preservation Hour each week as he empowers and educates those in or near retirement. Sundays at 2 p.m. and right here at KTAR. John Roller, KTAR News.
Sunshine today with a high of 88, a high of 93 tomorrow, and climbing up to 100 by Thursday. Weather is brought to you by Howard Air and Plumbing. Weather replace or repair, call Howard Air.
Country without legal status. Arizona Republicans want to force state and local authorities to help him out. They've introduced legislation like the Arizona ICE Act in the state capitol and strengthen existing programs designed to facilitate cooperation between states and the federal government. On KJZZ's Politics Desk in Phoenix and the Frontiers Desk in Tucson, Wayne Shutsky and Elisa Resnick bring us part one of this two-part report.
Republican lawmakers at the Arizona Capitol are pushing a handful of bills that would force agencies and officials across the state to support federal immigration efforts.
Right now, the goal, of course, is to focus on the 700,000 criminal illegal aliens that have been identified.
Senate President Warren Peterson initially sought to require sheriffs, local police, and the state prison system to sign cooperation agreements with Immigration and Customs Enforcement to participate in the agency's 287G program. Under 287G programs, local and state law enforcement officers are trained by ICE and authorized to participate in certain immigration enforcement functions.
This is about removing the most dangerous illegal immigrants from our streets.
Peterson ultimately stripped the 287G requirement out of his Arizona ICE Act, but it would still require sheriffs and prison officials to honor requests from ICE to hold on to people already in their custody.
And then the second thing is simply just not passing any ordinance or doing anything to obstruct the federal government from executing the law.
That worries critics like Democratic Senator Annalise Ortiz, who argues the bill will disproportionately affect minority communities.
That is Arizona's history, our sordid and shameful history. No one should fear that living their normal everyday life could lead to being pulled over and questioned about whether you belong here.
Ortiz was referring to the situation in Maricopa County over a decade ago, when the federal government terminated a 287G agreement with the sheriff's office. That came after a federal judge found the department engaged in a pattern of racial profiling. Attorney Louis Moffa represented a plaintiff who successfully sued the sheriff's department after he was arrested during an immigration raid despite being in the country legally. He says evidence in the case showed that the sheriff's office was disproportionately targeting Hispanic people.
Well, people were living in fear.
Moffa says the situation in Maricopa County shows how the 287G program can go wrong. His case showed Maricopa County wasn't complying with rules governing the program, such as keeping up with required training for deputies.
The issue that we argued to the court was that the sheriff's department was abusing the program. That it was taking the program way beyond its boundaries, and that it was using the program to racially profile.
Here's my colleague, Elisa Resnick.
That fear isn't a hypothetical one for Jose Patino.
Growing up in West Phoenix, I didn't see police as the heroes. I always saw them as you keep your distance and you don't want to have police come around.
Patino has been in Arizona since he was a kid, and today he's a local activist with the group Aliento and DACA recipients. The Obama-era program gives some young immigrants brought to the U.S. as children temporary deportation protection and a work permit. But it didn't exist until Patino was in his 20s. Before that, he was completely undocumented. Growing up, he says he didn't know 287G by its name, but
I just knew individuals that I knew within my community who had been pulled over by Phoenix police, and the next thing that we knew is that they were held in detention either warrant or a few months later that they were deported.
Patino says, as a result, immigrant families didn't distinguish between local departments and federal immigration authorities like ICE. And
are placed on American exports in retaliation
That's the leading edge, I think, where these splits in the Republican Party that have been papered over for now because people have.
So what do you guys think about the double HOV lanes now open on the westbound 10? Over there, the 143, it said only, exit only. So I was thinking, what if it just takes that lane off? So I got on the right lane just to be safe. But it's actually 2 lanes all the way. I'm thinking somebody's getting in trouble. All the way, I would say, to the splits. What do you guys think? But I think this is nice. It's going to help with morning traffic, rush hour, and it looks really nice. It's nice and smooth. Good use of our tax dollars, wouldn't you say?
And they're enormously powerful world economic power, and they've responded by actually increasing levies on American goods exported to China. So this is a very uncertain situation, and nobody, including the most knowledgeable economists, can predict where this is going to come out. But it's the very uncertainty that is causing so many jitters in the marketplace. You know, Donald Trump, his whole political career has traded on uncertainty. It's the core of reality TV. That's why so many people tuned in to watch the White Lotus finale last night, 18 million people, because they want to know what's going to happen, what's going to happen. Reality TV thrives on that kind of suspense. Well, markets do not thrive on uncertainty. Markets thrive on reliability. Markets thrive on steadiness. Markets thrive on the ability of investors to plan and plant managers to purchase and consumers to make buying and saving decisions. And what you're seeing now at the heart of the turmoil is a sense not only of the short term of Trump's policies on tariffs, but there's a long-term fear that we're in for 4 years of economic stewardship from someone who is so mercurial and impulsive that we're never really going to be able to steady these markets and plan with any kind of degree of uncertainty. And I think that's what's underlying a lot of the jitters right now.
Thanks so much. Steve Roberts, ABC News, political analyst.
Man, there was a truck that pulled right out in front of us, like maybe a 3/4 ton truck, an older one that pulled right out in front of maybe like a trash truck or something, and almost got hit. You guys have a great day. Don't forget to hug your loved ones and tell them how much you appreciate them. And if you're headed on the truck route, be safe, plan ahead, because I think there might be a fender bender. It's like we might get a traffic break up here or something.